What up everyone, I am Gallon Havoc and welcome to Studying the Inspiring, where I analyze and review artists who I liked and have inspired me in my own creative endeavors. So just a few things before we begin. As you can see, I'm not on camera, at least, not exactly. Boom, here I am. This is what you'll see of me in these videos. And I know what you're thinking, Havoc, your voice is so clear, why can't we hear you like this in your reviews? Simple, I don't like wearing this bulky headset. But enough about how I'm doing this, let's talk about what I'm doing. Basically, I'm going to break this down into 3 sections for you. So first, history, where I tell you who the artist is and what they are known for, and what they are doing now. Next, I go into technique, how they draw or create what they're known for, how things look, and then critique. And then finally, inspiration, where I tell you what elements I was inspired by, how it affects me now, and just what I like or dislike about it as a whole. So without further ado, let's begin studying the inspiring. Now for the first episode, I thought I would take you back to where it all began for me. I've been drawing from a very young age. My first real inspiration would come from my uncle, Titan McDougal, who drew a lot himself. He primarily drew things based on sci-fi, so Star Wars, Star Trek, Transformers. And while I fed off that, it wasn't until I was around 5 or 6 where my desire to draw really kicked into gear. And that came in the shape of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right from the get-go of seeing the anime, I knew that this was the kind of style I wanted to follow. Can't you tell from how I look? Memorable character designs, various monsters, spells and traps, and let's not forget the awesome badass theme song. And the guy responsible for Yu-Gi-Oh? Kazuki Takahashi. This dude played such a big part in my childhood, having created one of the most cherished things growing up. And now it's time I tell you why. Takahashi, as his name implies, was born in Japan, and grew up to become a manga artist and game creator. He didn't really gain any traction until the Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga in 1996, and was the supervisor for essentially all of what came after. He created most of the characters, like Yugi Moto himself, Seto Kaiba, Joey Wheeler, or Jinochi in Japanese, and Taya, Anzu in Japanese, as well as some of the most memorable monsters of the series. Dark Magician Girl, Blue Eyes White Dragon, Red Eyes Black Dragon, Jinzo, and others, including my personal favorite,
Oh no!
The Black Luster Soldier!
So now that I've given you a bit of his history, let's talk about his style. While at first glance, Takahashi's drawing style is very typical of the traditional anime look frequently seen in Japan. He uses the same tools as most do, pencil, ink, marker, and occasionally digital. However, he does add a certain charm to it, not seen in most other anime, mainly in the form of how he draws eyes. And as Top Dollar from The Crow once said, all the power of the world resides in the eyes, fella. When comparing Yugi with his counterpart Yami, or Atem as he comes to be known as, they are clearly the same person in body, but the eyes go from a childlike roundness to a sharp, stern, mature look. And the way it's done really changes the way you look at the characters separately. That one small change completely changes the character. His hair becomes a bit different too, but overall, pretty much the exact same. The same could be said of characters like Bakura and Merrick, who have their dark versions of themselves, or Yami versions. Speaking of which, Takahashi also has a tendency of making the villains look very, very, very evil. Whether it be Kaiba's extremely cocky nature, Pegasus' suave, Bakura's straight evil intent, and Dark Merrick's creepy, demonic, possessed presence. I mean, just look at that creepy tongue. Suffice to say, Takahashi knows how to make characters look the part. And the monsters. Either this guy had some terrifying nightmares as a child, or he just has that vivid of an imagination. Both of which I can appreciate. Look at Jinzo, who is actually inspired by Hellraiser. Summoned Skull, Relinquished. Seriously, what even is Relinquished? And how do you make Relinquished more unsettling? Thousand Eyes Restrict. As a kid, this thing got under my skin. Now while he made some unsettling ones, there were the heroic and epic ones as well. Dark Magician is the mascot for Yugi's deck, and whenever he came up it truly felt heroic. Blue Eyes White Dragon, basic design but memorable as all hell, same with Red Eyes. Exodia, need I say more? And let's not forget the epitome of epic monsters, the Egyptian gods. Obelisk the Tormentor, Slifer the Sky Dragon, and the Winged Dragon of Ra. These guys were the be-all, end-all monsters, and their design shows it. Obelisk, a colossal titan. Slifer, a nigh-endless serpentine dragon. And Winged Dragon of Ra, a regal golden bird reminiscent of the actual Egyptian god of the sun. Each of them unique and awesome to look at. He also did an artist exchange with Hellboy creator and artist Mike Mignola, and the result is downright badass. Takahashi also takes inspiration from Egypt in his work, with the story of Yu-Gi-Oh! Largely surrounding Egyptian mythology, though with quite a few liberties. It could also be seen in how he draws certain characters. All of their eyes almost look like they are wearing Egyptian eyeliner. Yami Yugi then goes to assume his pharaoh persona as Atem, wearing traditional regal Egyptian attire. Bakura, especially Dark Bakura come the final arc of the original series, takes on the form of an Egyptian bandit. Ishizu dresses like an Egyptian priestess, wearing Egypt-inspired jewelry. And finally, Merrick dresses like a gothic rock and roller with some Egyptian armbands to accentuate his Egyptian heritage, same as his sister Ishizu. And as a fellow lover of Egyptian lore and art, I can appreciate that very much. So with his technique and style, let's leave off with how he inspired me. Kazuki Takahashi was who really inspired me to draw in a more anime style, close to what I do today. I love the way he drew eyes on characters like Yami Yugi. That stern look became a staple for some of my own characters, including my own avatar. And let's face it, that's accurate for me as well, as I have that resting murder face. The monsters especially inspired me to draw things other than people, though the majority of what I draw is still humanoid, but I have dabbled in other creatures as well. Even as a storyteller, he inspired me to create stories, legends, that span across centuries. Because what's wrong with some ancient history playing a part in a story? As Maui once said,
knowing where you are by knowing where you've been.
And that is why Kazuki Takahashi is where it all began for me when it comes to kickstarting my art style. Anyway guys, that's it for this episode. In closing, I'm going to be ending each of these episodes with the character of the artists drawn by me. So here's my rendition of Yugi himself. Like I said, I'm going to be incorporating more of my own work. Anyway, thanks for watching everyone, and stay tuned for the next episode of Studying the Inspiring. Next episode, whenever that comes out, we will be covering comic book artist James O'Barr, and I'm really looking forward to that. I am Gallon Havoc, and it's your move.